It always makes my life a lot easier when I'm able to name these episodes in advance. And I've already determined that I'm going to name this either Back to 500 Part 2 or Back to 500 again.
You're just getting lazy. You're getting really lazy.
I actually, to be honest, I think you've been cooking with some of these episode names recently.
I mean, it's an art. Only
Well,
only some people can put pen to paper like I can. And I'm glad you're taking notice.
yeah, what
At
were some of these recently?
least come up
Route
with
in the Big Apple, rough sledding. Rough sledding was
That was a
pretty
good
good.
one. I was
That
okay,
yeah,
was a
yeah,
good
I was
one.
that
proud of
one
that.
that
That
one's good.
was
That
Yeah,
one is good.
I think that was the one that stood out to me most.
Yep, I'm good at what I do. But I was joking with JP. Like it would not be fun from a fan's point of view, but from a member of a podcast, it would be incredibly funny to root for a 500 team this season because I could just take a tally of how many times I name an episode back to 500. Rooting that doesn't end up happening, but like I said, makes my post-production life easier. In any case, folks, welcome back to another episode of the Sabre Roundtable. My name is Jonah,
I'm Christian.
And I'm JP.
and as always, we will be talking to you about all things Buffalo Sabres hockey and even a little bit of the wider NHL. As I just alluded to, once again, the Buffalo Sabres are back to 500 as quickly as they were 3 games below it. They have rattled off 3 straight, and most recently, a shootout victory against the Calgary Flames has brought them back to 7-7-1. And for a hot second, they weren't tied for a playoff spot. But alas, we are back to essentially square one, but it is obviously an encouraging sign. We said going into this past week that this was going to be the easiest and probably most important stretch for the Sabres of the season, and they're off to as good of a start as you would have wanted.
Man, it is a roller coaster watching this team, man. And you know what? I'll just say it right now. Most of us have to go to work tomorrow. I hate watching games at work or trying to keep up with games at work because it's the biggest pain in the you know what, just having to kind of like keep your phone off to the side or keep the audio on. But have they been above 500 yet this year? I don't think they
I
have,
don't think
right?
they have because they would have. I don't think so.
Well, tomorrow's the
No.
perfect opportunity. Knowing that
Says
they'll lose 6-4.
Yeah, I believe it's their first opportunity. Well, not first opportunity, but should they win tomorrow, it will be their first 4 game winning streak since January of 2023.
Yeah, like
20,
20 months.
20 months.
Yeah, that's the magic number. So
It's a lot of months.
it's, the opportunity's right there. You're facing a Montreal Canadiens team that is spiraling and not playing good hockey, but surprisingly, I mean, this is mostly based off of my memory. They've kind of owned you in your own building the past few seasons. I know they lost. They lost to them in their shootout last season. I think they also lost in regulation once. Then the previous season, they also lost in the shootout late in the season. That kind of cost them a playoff spot in retrospect. And then I think they lost in regulation. I think their last 4 contests in Buffalo against the Canadians, the Habs have won.
I feel like there's been a lot of Jake Allen master classes the
It
past few
also
years
it also
facing them.
it
Oh
does
God,
feel
are we
like that
playing
as well.
Jake Allen tomorrow?
No, 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 no. He's on the Devils now.
Oh, right,
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just
yeah.
saying in the past, that's what it's felt like.
We might be facing potential starting goalie for Team Canada in February, Sam Montembeault. Although I think that's more an indictment of Team Canada than it is a warning to the Sabres.
Dude, they got no one to play goaltender for them. Who do they have? It's him and Bennington.
Bennington,
Devin Levi.
yeah, Devin Levi.
Dude.
They were gassing up Montembeault like a week into the season, and then he's just kind of cratered. Although it sounds like the Montreal defense isn't really helping out. But yeah, I'm hoping to avoid a potential Canadians goalie masterclass tomorrow. That would be nice.
Yeah, it would be good for the productivity of the workday too, because if they lose, I'll just probably mentally check out.
I'll say I am so excited to watch Lane Hudson for my first time pretty
Jeez.
much.
Oh, dude.
Viewing pleasure and watching one of the best goal scorers in the league this season too, Cole Caulfield. So
You're gonna hear like the clanking of the ice, just pop, 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 pop. That's his crossovers, just over and
yep.
over again.
Yeah, he's
But
a
did you
great
see?
bag skater. So I'm
I
looking
was
forward
just
to see
about to
how
say.
fast he skates.
Did you see him in the bag skate? He came in first place. You see how quick that boy is.
How down bad of a fan base do you have to be hyped about a bag skate? That's the craziest comment I think I've ever seen. Like,
You could
that's insane.
you could say it's just like how microscopic it could get up in Montreal when you're, playing for that organization.
Yeah, and gassing up 20 goal scorers as if they're 50 goal scorers. They have a habit. They have a habit, no pun intended, of doing that. So yeah, it's a big day. It's Lane Hudson's first game in Buffalo. I hope Tage Thompson and company just honestly, not even for myself. Let's do this for Rosie. Let's put on a clinic and make him dash forward, and just give Rosie all the opportunity in the world to dunk on the mecca of hockey.
It's a good point. This is a big game for Rosie.
You might have to deactivate the Twitter if we lose tomorrow.
But before we get more so into what is looking ahead for the Sabres, let's talk about their one victory since we last recorded, a 3-2 shootout win against the Calgary Flames that at one point was looking great for the Sabres very early on, and then as we approached the later stages, you didn't even know if the Sabres were going to get 1 point, let alone two.
Man, I was sweating watching that game. The Flames just drug that. Jesus. The Flames
Drug that
decided to,
game.
They drug
yeah,
that game
they
up.
drugged it. Yeah.
It's
They
a good way of
decided to
putting it,
just,
depending on what drug you're talking about.
well, they just dragged the game into the mud. And it was like watching paint dry the entire second period. It was like the shots were like 10-9 at some point with like 5 minutes left in the second.
Yeah, it was a low event game. Yeah, I mean, the Sabres looked like just 10 minutes in, they were going to pull away. Zach Benson scores for the second game straight. And then Tage Thompson with a blast on the power play makes it 2-0. And that was, like I said, I think not even 15 minutes into the first. And you're kind of like, oh, all right, here we go. The Sabres are going to kind of make quick work of it here. But yeah, the Flames just kind of dragging that game down into the mud. And it just kind of became a bit of a slugfest, and then a weird sequence in the second period leads to Calgary getting on the board, and you just kind of knew going into the third it was going to be um, a pretty different sort of period, and
Hmm.
we saw the Sabres were sort of holding on for dear life there.
Yeah, I mean, you saw that goal coming too. Like you
Hmm.
knew it was coming. Like they were just dominating us, and I felt like a penalty on our side was coming, and it didn't end up coming in the third, but it did end up, happening in overtime, and that was a hell of a kill in overtime. I mean, that was I I feel like our penalty kill the last few games has been better, but even going into that, I was like, oh, they're gonna score, they're gonna put us away. Like
Hmm.
that just feels like how this game's gonna go. And what a kill.
Yeah,
Gutsy.
understatement. Gutsy kill. I mean, I think it was the full two. I mean, I'm trying to remember how much time was left. It was over a minute for sure. I don't know if it was the full
Yeah, I
two
think it was
minutes.
like a minute 30 to be honest.
Yeah, it
There's like a minute
was
20 left when
very
they got the
long,
penalty.
very long period that they had to kill off, and puck jumped over a couple flame sticks, but saves were made, stick checks were made, and the Sabres just held on and they bent, but they did not break, and they were able to get it to a shootout. And JJ Paterka with the Sabres' lone goal in the shootout, a sneaky shot through the five hole of Dan Vladar, who had really been steady after those first two early goals, and Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen shutting down the Flames, going 3 for 3.
And glad they came out with the win. And 4-0, Dennis Gilbert in the lineup. The conversation continues. The Gilbert Glacier.
let's
We're
let's
here to have this conversation.
let's let's get into the Dennis Gilbert conversation. So,
Don't cook me.
no, it's not you. It's more so I'm not totally surprised, but I'm also at the same time kind of surprised. Like the guy's got a weirdly cult following already,
Hmm.
and like not in the okay, like he's a Buffalo-born guy. You're already gonna have people rooting for him off the bat, and he's a physical defenseman, so obviously that's gonna bring more fans on board. But there was like a weird. Someone sent out a tweet. I don't know who it was. It was just talking about I think Reimer coming back to the team and the roster moves that would implicate, and it
Hmm.
involved Gilbert going down. And like there were like a lot of comments saying like, why would you send this guy down? Like it's kind of deja vu. Like, we're having the Mateus Samuelson conversation again from 2 years ago.
Yeah. And speaking of Matthias Samuelson, do you think he sees ice time next game? Because I will say Gilbert did not have one of his finest performances with three penalties and not getting a shift in the third. So it's
I'll
kind
give
of
him
writing on the wall moment.
I won't knock on him for the penalties. One of them wasn't even on him. It was on Sam Lafferty, and they just made him go to the box instead. The first one was kind of ticky tack. I mean, the player just kind of fell that he was tied up with, and then the second one chronologically shouldn't. I mean, it was a penalty, but like it honestly was just it looked worse because a goal was scored during it, and even though it probably shouldn't have been scored because the referee's arm was in the air. So I don't think the penalties were the biggest thing in the world. I don't, obviously it doesn't help when you're down so much, but I think clearly it's a situation where he's not one of the most trusted guys. He only had three shifts in the third period. One of them was less than 15 seconds. So to answer your question, I think Samuelson comes back in tomorrow. Like I
Hmm.
know they're winning, but uh, yesterday's game against the Flames, it felt like you saw more of the cracks with the substitutions. Like Gilbert Clifton wasn't as strong. Power and Bryson, they were out there for the Zach Benson goal, but even them, it kind of felt they weren't as in control as the previous two games. So I think we see Samuelson. It remains to be seen about Yoki Haru.
Hmm.
Yeah, I could really see it both ways because if we came out before the game and Lindy Ruff says, "Hey, we've been winning, we're going to stick with the same lineup," I would completely understand. But at the same time, um, you know, I think Gilbert's all three games. I think he's played the least among the defensemen. He's played 38-minute total this season, so he's averaging like 12 minutes on ice. I think they're going to make a change with at least him. I think Bryson. I think last game he wasn't as good, but I still think he's been pretty good, and I think he's, been pretty good with power. So I think you're definitely going to see Samuelson in. Yoki, I think, is the bigger argument if he comes in for like Clifton, or maybe it is Bryson, but I think Samuelson at the very least. Like I know I hate some people hate the argument that, oh, he's a captain, so he can't sit him, but sitting
No,
a
I don't like
captain
that
three
argument.
games in a row would feel kind of weird, personally.
All I'm gonna say is like if he comes back tomorrow and they lose, I don't think Dennis Gilbert's
You
coming out of
know,
the lineup.
you're never gonna hear the end of
Never
it.
gonna hear the end of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It immediately becomes Dennis Gilbert is clearly the reason the Sabres lost. It's just all trickle down effect of the Gilbert Glacier. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do. Like JP said, do they pull the plug on the third pair as a whole? Gilbert only got three shifts in the third period. I think Clifton also. He also didn't get a lot of time. I think he took a shift in the overtime on the penalty kill. But other than that, he was also, they were basically just rolling the Power Bryson pair, and then they were absolutely rolling Darlene Byram. Speaking of Bowen Byram, 32 minutes and
Yeah.
34 seconds played in this game, the most by any skater this season. Holy, like, cow.
Dude,
Darlene was the next closest at 28 minutes. He played 4 minutes more than the next guy.
I feel like he just never left the ice. Every time I looked down, he was down there. He was on the ice. He looked gassed at the end, though. He looked really
Yeah.
gassed.
They gave him and Darlene maintenance days at practice today, and
Good.
I think I think they might have deserved it.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, you want to talk about high event hockey. Bowen Byram had 1.1 expected goals against. And he was towards the top on expected goals for. So he's very high event out there. I know people were I didn't see a replay of the second goal. But I know people were clamoring that it was on him. But plays 32 minutes. I think you're gonna make some mistakes because you're gonna be tired.
Yeah, I think I saw somebody say like he was a dash too. Well, I'm like, well, if you play half the game, I mean, chances are you're probably going to be out for a goal or two. But yeah, crazy stuff by Byram. I think honestly the craziest part was that he's only the sixth player in Sabres history to do that, and Rasmus Dahlin wasn't one of them. I guess less surprising, Rasmus Ristolainen had done it before. Played 32 minutes back in February of 2018. Yeah, that sounds about right for him.
Oh man.
Who do you know who the other players were? Curious.
Ooh, I don't know. I just read Sabres PR's tweet, so I'm trying to think like who else would have had to be somebody that absolutely logged. I wonder if was ever. I mean, chances are it probably was a rough player at some point. So don't know.
I'll look for it.
Did Risto ever get big time minutes?
I wonder if he did it more than once. That would be. I would also. I know he had to have hit 30 multiple times. He just. Man, the days before Darlene, it was very dark
Risto
time.
McCabe.
Very dark time.
Holy crap. Okay. I'm just looking at the most minutes in a game ever. And Cam Fowler's at the top with 38.54
That's
2 years
nuts.
ago.
Yeah, I remember us talking about that at the time. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. You know who's 15th is Rasmus Ristolainen in 2016 played 35 minutes in an
Yeah,
overtime
Ooh.
win.
he used
Can
to
I
get
go on? Oh,
work.
okay. Yeah, I feel like I remember that. Was it the 16-17 season?
Yes.
Was it against the Sharks?
Nope.
You said it was overtime, not shootout.
It was an overtime win. Yeah.
Overtime, not shootout.
Oilers.
Oh, man.
Nope.
Was it the Oil? Oh, yeah, that was a
I
good game.
remember that game, though. He
I
had the
remember
OT
that game
winner.
too. Yeah. Oh man, what other games did they win in overtime that season? This was in the year 2016, right?
Yeah. The game was January 20th, 2017.
Oh, it was 20. Okay, so it was 2017.
Well, yeah, but it was 2016, 2017 year.
Was it the Montreal Canadiens?
No,
Detroit Red Wings?
it was the Detroit Red Wings.
Yeah, I remember that game as well. Yep. I think I was there for that.
All right, LeBron.
Crazy. 35 minutes. Ridiculous.
Yeah,
It's
that's
amazing the
insane.
Sabres won those games, or won that game in retrospect.
Yeah, seriously. I found another one. Same year, 2016, 2017.
He did it again?
Nope. Zach Bogosian played 33 and a half minutes
Okay,
for
that
us.
has to be
Oh
the
my
Canadians game
God.
because he scored
Nope.
the overtime win. It
Nope,
wasn't?
we lost this game 3-1. And
That's
we
not
the defenseman played
that's not
33 minutes.
surprising. If Zach Bogosian's playing 33 minutes, what was the score?
They're thrown in the
3-1. It was against Pittsburgh.
Oh man, 3-1. Jeez, I do not remember that game.
I don't either. Risto, another 33-minute game in the same year. What is going on with that
Were
year?
they rolling one pair?
Yeah,
Did they
what
have
the
one
hell?
pair double shifting the whole
I don't
game?
think they played together, so like, I
So
mean,
they were
I
running
would hope
four
not.
then.
A Ristolainen and Bogosian pair. I don't remember that happening.
That would get shelled.
If it did happen, I'm glad it's wiped from my memory.
Those
Yeah.
two were playing double shifting, and they were just rotating two other
Dude,
guys on their lines.
Another one of Risto the same year.
What was Dan
Lost-
Bilesma doing?
Yeah.
No wonder
wonder
this
he
guy
got
got fired.
32-47 in an overtime loss to the Islanders in the same year.
Oh my God.
Okay, now I see like a Soupy in 06-07, Risto in 2017, 2018, and now Bowen Byram. So Bowen Byram's 249th. So all those other ones were, within there.
I
But
always remember,
that
man,
is crazy. 3 or 4 in the
intermissions.
same year.
Intermissions, they'd have a little ticker at the bottom where like time the TOI stat, and it would always be him. He'd always
He
be
was
logging
always
in.
up there. It was perpetual, dude. It was
Yeah.
so bad. I remember when they drafted Darlene, everybody's like, "Oh, finally, like they can reduce his role." Nope, never did.
Nope.
Never did.
No wonder that guy got cooked out there all the time. No,
Exactly.
he got to a point he started going insane. He ran into a ghost. He fell into the boards. Poor guy was losing his mind.
And now he's cooking right now, and maybe it's because he's not playing 30 minutes a
Yeah,
night.
because
Yeah.
he's John Tortorella saved his career.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Speaking of him bumping into the boards, it's not really related, but did you see Moritz Seider kind of had a wrist alignment moment the other night?
Yeah, he dropped it to nobody.
Absolutely nobody. So funny. I saw a
It was
few Moritz alignment comments.
I will say though, that was a really good like play by Tavares. I couldn't dream to have the hand eye to just kind of like whip the puck around and it just goes
Yeah.
right in. Like,
Mm-hmm. Funny stuff.
good for him.
Funny stuff. Anyways, back to the
Yeah.
game against the Flames. I don't even know. We just kind of went off on a tangent there. Well, we can jump over to this. The power play. It's becoming a pretty good story. Obviously, they have that 0 for 22 start. Horrid. Since then, and their first goal was scored on October 26th, they've gone 30%. They're 7 for 23. That's fifth in the NHL during that time. Overall, they're sitting at 15.6, so obviously not good, but they were sitting at 0% for a while there.
-% for a while.
Yeah, yeah, their goal share is finally positive on the power play. And then I did a little bit more digging, went to Evolving Hockey's site. So from opening night, or I guess opening day against the Devils to the game before they scored their first power play goal, they were averaging about 6.79 goals for per 60 on the power play. So it was about 25th in the NHL. Since then, they're up to 8.43 expected goals for per 60, and that's 17th in the NHL. So you're seeing progress. There's still a lot of work to do. There's still shifts where they can't break into the zone. There's still shifts where it kind of feels stagnant, but it's improving. And I think a big part of that is there's not a lot of turnover on these units. Like the first unit it feels like they're getting to know each other more and where they are on the ice, and it feels like it's coming together a bit more.
And I know Jonah was pumped with the Tage one-timer goal because right after he scored, he was like, and that's how you open him up because they
I
were
was gonna
moving the
say.
puck around. Like it's just nice to see
Well, yeah,
actually opening it up for him.
It's like the Sabres power play the last 2 years, even going back to like the Eichel era, basically the moment Victor Olofsson stepped foot on the team, it was okay. We're gonna give it to the guy on the one wall, back to Darlene at the point, back to the guy on that wall, back to Darlene, over to the one-timer slot. And that was the story with Tage Thompson 2 years ago. It was just going from Tage Thompson to Darlene to the right wall, back to Darlene, back to Thompson for the one-timer. And it worked for half the season. Then the league caught on, and for a season and a half, they didn't know what to do. And when this season started, it felt like they were making an open effort not to even think about a one-timer play. And like I understand that, but that was never the intention here. Even you can go back and probably listen to our episodes from 2 years ago. It's not stop passing to Tage Thompson for the one-timer. It's just find more ways to get him open for it. And there was nothing special on that play. The Flames were just couldn't get out to him in time, but quick puck movement. Darlene, who I'll say oftentimes kind of stick handles the puck once, to really settle it before Tage Thompson. He didn't do it. It was literally on the stick, off the stick, and they couldn't get to Thompson in time. And there you go. He's going to shoot a 94-mile-an-hour puck, and it's in the net. It's really that simple.
I will say though, I didn't see much of the Flames doing what teams usually do and play like a diamond. They were leaving them wide open. So even from my vantage point looking down, it was like you could go, 2 years ago, no one knew. You could just throw it over to him and he's got a clear shot to the net. I think you'll have a more difficult time against other teams, but still good on them for using the bumper. It's good to see the power play actually working, not like wanting to decline a penalty when we get one.
Yeah, and it doesn't just feel like positive shooting regression. Like it feels like these goals are it's not like Darlene's just floating it in from the point or they're taking shots from far out. They're just finding a seam. Like they're opening up stuff. They're scoring. Like Jason Zucker scored a few tip-ins. Cousins' goal was obviously he was just burying what was there. And then you have plays like the one the other night against the Senators where Thompson uh, sends it across the slot to Paterka. Like they're scoring in different ways and it doesn't feel fake.
I think one thing that Jonah and I know, we were listening to the post game. I don't know if you were a Christian, but Tage was asked about special teams after the game, and he said,
Hmm.
"Oh, honestly, I think our special teams have been good all year. We just haven't been converting."
I don't know about that.
Yeah,
I don't I don't think
Me and
so.
Jonah are both like, I don't know about that. Like, it didn't even look
Respectfully.
good. But what I'll say is, I do think that means they didn't lose confidence. Like they've been confident in their special teams the whole time, and going 0 for 22 can, obviously lose your confidence there. So I think it at least says that. I think he was LeBron in right there, but I think it does at least show confidence for it.
Hey man, it's like I'd rather go 0 for 30 instead of 0 for 22 because that means you just stop shooting.
Very just encouraging stuff to say the least. It doesn't feel like a problem right now. It's helping them win games. And hey, yesterday's game, the two goals that were scored in regulation by the power play and by the second line. I didn't think the Cousins line had as strong of a game against Calgary as they did against the Rangers, but the numbers still said they were good, and that's I still think that's something. I think Cousins definitely looks a lot better now. I think Quinn, there were still a few moments yesterday where uh, I guess I would have wanted more, but Cousins, he's looking more engaged, almost got the overtime winner yesterday. So Benson's been a good spark for that line. Like I said, goals in back-to-back games now. Encouraging stuff. Encouraging stuff.
Cousins
Hmm.
led the forwards in expected goals for per natural stat trick, so only behind Darlene, who also was up there. I got one more thing talking about the forwards. Um, I know I saw discourse about it on Twitter. I don't think he's been that bad, but I know people are talking about sitting Lafferty for a game or two, and bringing Albe Kubel up. So I just wanted to hear your guys' thoughts.
I I like the idea. I think it would be good just for rotational purposes. I think ABK should come in for Lafferty and Samuelson should probably come in for Gilbert. Even if it is, you did win three in a row, but I Lafferty didn't impress me that much the other day, and he took the penalty, and it's a guy you could rotate. It's not someone who's going to make or break your lineup.
I guess that feels like tinkering to tinker. I thought they were good against the Flames, and then obviously Lafferty scored the game before. I think it's not like a Gilbert situation where it kind of feels like you're on borrowed time before the cracks start to show.
Don't you dare. Don't you go there.
I thought they were good yesterday. Obviously I want to see Abe Kubel back in the lineup, but honestly I'll defend Lafferty a bit here. And Beck Malenstein, I thought has put together his best two-game stretch of the season. I think they've been good. There were three of the forward lines were above 50. I think they were all in the 70% expected goal for percentage. I think the only one that was below was the McLeod line. So um, I don't think anybody on that line was really deserving of a scratch. I think if you were to make any changes, that feels like changing something just to change.
Fair enough.
Okay, last thing I wanted to touch on before we get off of this game for good. So Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, another great game. Um, Funny enough, he finished negative on the day in terms of goals saved above expected, but it was negative .07, so it's basically break even. Um, but now we have at least three and then probably four games in a row here of consecutive, like really good stuff. We gave him some flack for the Red Wings game, but he only let in two goals. He was a plus .58 on that game. And then obviously back to back great performances against the Senators and the Rangers. And then obviously against the Flames, where, the Sabres, while they get 2 points in the end, like I said, there was times you didn't even know if they were going to get one. He's in a groove. And I think it's probably we've actually touched on it a decent amount already, but the Devin Levi conversation. So it's currently November 10th, and he's played 4 games since October 4th. That's 37 days. What do you do here? Is this an issue?
Uh, a little bit. I wouldn't call it like an extremely good situation to be in as a developing goaltender, but at this point, it's like, what are you gonna do? You don't really have another goaltender to, sit in that spot. You kind of got to wait for that maybe that James Reimer situation to open back up. Hopefully, he could, get off the West Coast and back over here.
John Gibson is playing tonight. The Ducks, while we expected them to send Reimer down, it seems like they're okay carrying 3 for now.
Mm,
So,
that's tough.
yeah. Luukkonen is a guy I think we can firmly uh, acknowledge that he thrives when he's got the workload in terms of like consecutive games. You think about the stretch that he's in now, 4 consecutive starts. He's gotten better pretty much with every start. You think about last season, the best stretch of his career was when he went like 17 of 18 games. And even the season before, when he had that hot streak in December and January, you saw the decline the moment they brought back Eric Comrie from injury and started the 3 goalie rotation. Um, he he's better when he's getting the starts, and that's good, because you're getting good goaltending with that amount of volume. It just kind of becomes, is this what's best for Devin Levi? And I feel like the easy answer is no, because he's not playing. And I think honestly, like if you want to do the Luukkonen like 17 of 18 games, like I'm cool with that, honestly. And that way, you know, um, because that way you can just bring up Felix Sandstrom and just be like, yeah, who cares? He's going to start 1 game in the next month or so. I just think, if the Ducks are really just going to be okay with carrying Reimer as an extra, I mean, even him, he's only played 2 games this season. Um, I think at that point, like I think Levi just might be better off playing for an Amerks team that is, doing very well and just
Hmm.
getting starts down there.
Yeah, you don't want him rotting on the shelf, but at this point, it's a waiting game. What are you gonna do, right? I like the idea of maybe bringing up Sandstrom to just to, stick him on the bench, but do you really want that guy going in any NHL game? Like, even if it's against like the Sharks or a bad Canadians team, like, do you really feel comfortable having him in there? Because NHL team's an NHL team. Like they can put the puck in the net.
You know my thoughts on it. I know this probably isn't best for Levi, but I think having your best 2 goalies in your organization on the Sabres is what's best for the team. Like I think, if UPL needs a rest, even if he plays most of the games in a two
See,
week
but
span,
is it best? Because Levi's not. He's not, even when he's playing. He's not playing good. He's got 1 win. Um, Otherwise, he's. I think he's one of the lower goalies in terms of goals saved above expected. And look, I know it's a short sample size, but still, Levi could be the same way. Who just someone who thrives off the amount of volume he's getting,
Hmm.
and maybe you're better off spotting in. Can you be like to Felix Sandstrom, like, hey, just give me 1 game where you let in less than 4 goals, and we can work with that. I think a week ago you would have asked me, I would have said no, just keep Levi up. But now it's kind of like I feel like Luukkonen. I mean, like if we're talking about tomorrow, and by the time this comes out, maybe the game's probably By the time many are listening to it, the game had already been played. I don't know, maybe they play Levi tomorrow, but I wouldn't. I wouldn't do that. Like, just keep rolling Luukkonen. You've won 3 straight. Why would you change it up?
True.
So I think you have to start thinking about it. Like, if you have to call up Felix Sandstrom, like, fine, but like you're not calling him up to play games. You just keep feeding Luukkonen start. I mean, we talked about it. Their next back to back is not till the 23rd. You could just keep playing Luukkonen over and over again.
Until the back to back, and then,
Oh
well,
well,
I
and,
guess you could.
oh
I
well,
guess you could.
then you roll the dice. I think the Sharks are on the second half of that back to back, so you can be like, hey Felix, can you give me like just one decent start here?
Isn't I know we're gonna talk about this later when we talk about the Amerks, but isn't he hurt now? Like, wouldn't
Did
it
he
be
get
Hauser instead?
did he get
Because
hurt from that hit?
I know they signed a guy from Jacksonville, I'm pretty sure. They brought someone in for a PTO.
The Iceman.
Maybe that's true.
So
I
it'd
guess
be Hauser. I know the difference probably isn't even that drastic. I just want to point that out.
Well, if it's Hauser, then yes, because the vibes would be off the charts.
That is true. It's
Yeah, I
true.
guess I didn't. Obviously, we all saw that insane hit.
Oh my
I
God, so cheap.
I didn't know. I guess I didn't see if Sandstrom was actually hurt from it.
I thought he was, to be
All
honest.
right. Well, same point though, because like if you're
Yeah.
sending Levi down, you talk about spread out schedules. Amerks games are even more spread out. They played yesterday. They don't play again until Wednesday.
Hmm.
So, um, I don't know. I think it's getting to the point where I think it's like if they did that, where they send Levi down, call Hauser, Sandstrom up, and that's the end of it, then I think that's smart. And additionally, I don't know. I feel like you can still like if this Reimer situation doesn't change, you can still go out and get a goalie. I mean, Malcolm Subban was acquired for future considerations a few years ago. Um, I don't know. I think you can't forget about Levi here. You can't do it,
Hmm.
and he just. I think he's got to play games. It's for me. It's like okay, this guy has to play games. So does this other guy. Well, one of them can go down to the AHL for free. Well, I feel like we've come to an easy conclusion here, but that I get it from JP's point of view. You got to think about the team. Are you better off with Levi or another goaltender behind Luukkonen? I get it. There's things to think about. So, with that out of the way, I think that basically wraps up everything I have on the that game against the Flames. Overall, hey, they didn't play their best game. They still found a way to win. As Tage Thompson put it, good teams, they find ways to win even when they're not at their best.
Yep. Good teams find ways to win. You just got to keep doing that.
Concernometer. How are we? We were sky high in the numbers last week. How are we feeling 3 wins in a row later?
I I'm honestly the first number that came to my head is 7 because I have not gotten consistency out of this team yet. And tomorrow feels like an absolute trap game. It's a matinee game. God forbid. I hope to God it's not Kids Day because if it's Kids Day, it is the curtains right now.
I
But
mean, it basically is because I think more than half the country's still working. I feel like if you
yep.
schedule a game at 12:30, you're expecting children attendance to really carry you. So
But yeah, I don't see myself dropping it until I see I'm gonna need to see probably a little bit more of a sample size of games here, but I need to start seeing like bounce back wins after a loss, not 3 in a row and then losing 3 in a row. I can't. It's not good for the mental health. It's not good for the standings. It's not good for anyone. It's not good for the playoff hopes. So I'm gonna keep it high for now, but check back with me in a week as we do.
We're a 500 hockey team, so I'm going to say 5. Right in the middle.
Okay,
God damn it. Well,
good stuff.
I will put it. I will continue to be Mr. Optimist this season. I'll put it at a 4. I think, you know, what's changed from last week to this week? Well, the two most worrisome things have improved. The power play is starting to cook a little bit, and the second line is showing some serious progress. So, I think that's encouraging. Even then, their schedule laxed a little bit. It's a bit easy on the easy side right now, so I can't get carried away. Um, but I think it's encouraging. It's you know, we were really teetering on the edge of this. Is this season over again last week? And they ripped off three straight. I mean, this was literally best case scenario. So,
Yep.
it's encouraging. They're digging themselves into deep holes, but they're climbing right back out of them. So, it's like Christian said, tomorrow's a huge opportunity. You get your head above 500 for the first time this season, right? Weren't they? They were 4-4 and
I
1,
think so, yeah.
4-7 and 1, and then back to 7-7 and 1. So, you
They
play
do.
Incoming 7-10-1.
This team stinks. Curse lives on.
Oh God.
That's true. That's true. We did the Sabres last
Oh
week, and
yeah.
they ripped
Yep.
off. Oh my God, dude, this is bad. You
This
better have
guy.
picked a. You better have picked a team that, like,
We don't care about.
Nashville Predators fans are praying that you picked them this week.
They're gonna be very disappointed.
All right. Well, before we get into this team stinks, let's jump into a team that has been super, super fun and honestly, uh, compared to like what I expected of them this season, they've kind of been crushing it. The Rochester Americans off to a pretty great and exciting start. They lost they had a rough game yesterday against I think it was Wilkes-Barre Scranton, but overall the Rochester Americans right now they're sitting at 7-4. I saw some stat lines, just some of their team stats from the other day heading into Saturday's game. They currently led the league in scoring. I think they got shut out, funny enough. And they're also second in the league in shots for. Hauser and Sandstrom are below 2.5 goals against average, both 900 or above save percentage. If Sandstrom played against Wilkes-Barre, I'd probably not so much anymore, but still encouraging stuff. Nobody's a minus on the team.
That's
Um,
big.
it is pretty big. So looks like a pretty fun start for the fellas down the 90.
Maybe Devin Levi could add to that. He could add on to that fun.
Yeah, they've been awesome. I want to shout out that account that we're getting those stats from because I think they're like the go-to Amerks
Hmm.
account. It's at LGA585. They
hmm
always are covering the
Yeah,
Amerks.
they are the Amerks account to follow. Let's go Amerks 585, 100%. They're every game. So yeah,
On top of what else is in that tweet, but Is Isaac Rosean, 13 points. I believe he's 12th in the league in scoring right now, but he's top of the Amerks, 4 goals, 9 assists. He's been their best player.
also shout out to well, first of all, shout out to Vinny Hinostroza. He's currently
Yeah,
leading the AHL in
I
points.
saw that
He's
too.
got 17 points in 11
Save
games
that king,
for the
man.
for the Milwaukee Admirals. Good for him.
He deserves an NHL roster spot. He's a fourth line guy. He's
Yeah.
Sabres just don't have room for him.
Yeah, but Roseanne, uh, before going into today, he was tied for third. He's dropped down to tied for fourth right now, but still really encouraging stuff, leading the Amerks in assists and points. It's what you want to see from him. Some other guys on the roster, Yuri Kulik, who did we talk about? He got sent down
I don't
this
think we
past
did.
week. I don't think we ever really acknowledged it, but yeah, obviously he got in the corresponding move to get Zach Benson back on the roster. He was sent back to Rochester, and he's been basically what doing what you would want. 2 goals in his 3 games since returning, and then yeah, Zach Metza, 10 shout out to him, 10 points in 11 games, 9 assists. Victor Nuchev continuing to chuck along here as he's got 9 points in 11 games. And Anton Wahlberg, 7 points in his 11 AHL games. So, seeing a lot of encouraging stuff from the youngsters. And before I forget, Consta Helenius, 4 straight games with a goal as well. That gives him 6 points in his first 11 games. So, very fun stuff from the Amerks. Exactly what you want to see. The guys that you want to see produce are producing.
They've been awesome though. I gotta be honest, I want to get down to a game. I mean they got all these players down there right now. especially like you guys have been talking about. If Levi gets sent down too, I mean that roster is gonna be freaking loaded. Like it
Hmm.
already is, and want to get down to a game soon.
What good drafting does.
Yeah,
So much
seriously.
talent, Christian. What should we do with it?
I think we should just package it all for a trade, you know? Just get rid of all of it. Sell the whole farm.
I think we got to talk about the hit on
I mean, we
Sandstrom.
kind of did. Oh my
We
God.
mentioned it.
That's got to be one of the most absurd things I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Ben Harper just laying Felix Sandstrom into the back of the net, knocking the net off its pegs, which is really, it's hard to do in pro hockey. It's certainly a first for me.
Yeah, it's not like, Sandstrom was behind the net and he was just, it just happened to be a play. Sandstrom wasn't even looking at him. He was looking in the corner, just sitting in net, and Harper just ran right through him. Like it's insane. I will say, does look like there was a reason for it. I believe Sandstrom tripped him last year, went into the boards, and I believe he was hurt and out for the rest of the year. So it doesn't seem like I'm not saying it was justified. Like that's still dirty play, but it does seem like there's at least some sort of incentive for him to do that. It wasn't just completely out of nowhere like most people thought at first.
Yeah, it seems like there was some breadcrumbs leading up to that moment. So,
Yeah,
I guess with
still
the
insane.
with the context, it's not totally surprising, but yeah, still a pretty ridiculous play, and Ben Harper would get a 4-game suspension for it. Moving on, it is yeah, I use America's favorite segment. Um,
Hagen's
that's
favorite
I
line.
was gonna say, Ryan, our good buddy over at the Buffalo Sports Talk podcast. What segment? What segment does he always preface that before? Is it
Concernometer, maybe?
Concernometer? Yeah,
Might be that.
yeah. In any case, it's America's favorite segment. This team stinks. Christian, the floor is yours.
All right. I think we're gonna take a trip out to California for this one. We're gonna head west to the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim. And I call them the Mighty Ducks because maybe they should consider hiring Gordon Bombay as their head coach because my God, this team is atrocious. They're on a 4-game skid. And to add context to this, goals for, you want to score goals in this league. Our good buddies across the border, well, I guess 2 borders in Detroit, are currently sitting at 31st in goals for with 34 goals scored. You want to take a guess at where the Anaheim Ducks are?
23 goals.
Okay. Jonah, you have a guess?
Man, I don't even know. I'll just like 20.
27.
Okay.
27. So 7 below 31st place.
Oh my God.
What's
And what, JB?
I was gonna say what's leading the league? Like I'm curious the gap there.
This team stinks, JP. This is not this team is awesome, all right?
I'm just curious.
I'm pretty sure it's the Jets, but
I'll
um
find it.
That would make sense. They are off to the best
to
start in
to
NHL
top it
history.
all off, they're tied for last in the NHL standings with 10 points at a record of 4-7-2. Uh, I don't know what else to say, but this team stinks.
Surprised you didn't delve into a little bit of player performances, because it's
Well,
been
I was actually sorry. I was actually going to add, like, I mean, I get player performance hasn't been great, but like it's kind of like what you see with the Sabres. They have all this young talent. I mean, Zegras, you can't write that. You don't write that guy off. They have Jamie Drysdale, and I feel like they're picking in the top 3 every year.
they don't
So
even
it's
have
like,
Jamie Drysdale anymore.
oh wait, who did they trade him for?
Cutter Gauthier, who
Cutter
was like
Gauthier.
heading into the season was like one of the favorites for the Calder, still hasn't scored 13 games in. I did see, I think in
God,
Jay Fresh's model, he was like he might have been the lowest in terms of goals scored under expected.
I'm gonna sound like
Um,
such a casual. God, either way, the team is terrible, and I don't know, man. It's just
yeah.
it's odd. I mean, you see it with the Sabres, them picking in the top, how many picks every single year, but like from an outside perspective, it's kind of a weird thing to see. It's like, oh man, this team is picking in the top 3 again. They're picking in the top 3 again. It's just, I think they could just put it together at some point.
We gave him a lot of credit in our division preview episodes, and look, they could, for all I know, they could smoke us tomorrow. But the Canadians are kind of in the same boat. Like it's been a storyline with them. Like their team defense is really, really bad, and now there's talk of potentially moving on from Martin St. Louis. Like you can be bad for a decent period, and it can be okay. But then it kind of gets to a point where like the Ducks, I think they wanted to be better this year. Like they really wanted to try and compete, be more of like a 21-22 Sabres type team, and it's not going great. I mean, Brock McGinn has more points than Trevor Zegras, and I'm still a believer in Trevor Zegras, but it's not ideal.
Well,
Guys like Pavel Mintyukov he doesn't even have an assist this season. He's just got 2 goals as a defenseman. Leo Carlson only has 6 points in 13 games. The only guys kind of performing up to par are Troy Terry and Mason McTavish. But yeah, it's rough. They have like, let me see, they have 3 players in the plus category. It's Cam Fowler, Euro Vakanainen, and Brett Leeson. That's it.
man, that is tough. Well, congratulations, Anaheim, because I just gave you the curse. So now you're gonna go and win 4 straight.
How many more goals do you think the Jets have scored?
Um, I was just looking at it. So if the math checks out, 40?
Yep, it's 40.
Yeah, that's insane.
That's more than double even how many goals they've scored. 27, and then the Jets have scored 67.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
the
That is
Ducks, they stink. But like I said, they did get John Gibson back tonight. Actually, probably check on that game super quick, see how it's going. So maybe that's a bit of a boost. But now they're up 2-1 against the Blue Jackets. So
Battle of the Sewer.
you are literally seeing a this team stinks jinx in real time. So I think moving on from that, we can jump into some NHL news. Let's start with some news that broke during the Sabres game. A pretty big waiver wire addition, Dante Fabbro from the Nashville Predators, who, if we want to touch on the Nashville Predators, they were a victim of this team stinks, and I think they did see a slight increase in the amount of wins, but since then not so much. They still sit last in the Central Division. They're 5-9-1. And most recently, Barry Trotz went on, I think it was a radio spot, and was saying that if this team doesn't turn around, the quote rebuild plan will have to be put forth into action.
They just signed these guys to huge
I know.
deals. Like, what the hell?
Hey, Jonah, I think you called it at the beginning of the year. These big deals, man, they don't work out sometimes. They're dangerous.
It's funny because I think JP mentioned them as a potential Stanley Cup dark horse, and I was kind of like sort of on board with the idea because I think I said like this is their best chance with this group. They signed all these big deals, but yeah, I saw the other day Jonathan Marchessault hasn't been on the ice for a 5v5 goal yet. I think
Seriously?
crazy, and Steven Stamkos is obviously off to his slow start that has everybody talking. It's not going well. And
Not at all.
they're only 4 games under, and they were in a pretty similar situation last year before the U2 incident. But yeah, Barry Trotz better schedule and cancel a concert quick because it's not going great. And as we saw, Dante Fabbro, who is for the longest time he's kind of been like Timothy Liljegren, someone who feels like has been on their trade block for a while, but they've re-signed. They finally made a move to waive him, and the Columbus Blue Jackets decided to make a pretty easy claim. I mean, he's only making $2.5 million. He's 26, I believe, right-handed defenseman. Like, yeah, I mean, there was obviously some Sabres discourse around it. I wouldn't have minded that. He's definitely an upgrade on Henry Jokiharju. So, yeah, it might be the first move of things to come for the Predators if that doesn't begin to turn around.
You think Kevin Adams will be working the phones down there at all?
I think it goes to show, like, Henry Jokiharju really doesn't have any trade value. I mean, we kind of talked about it when the Liljegren trade went down. Like, maybe he does, but I think it was Friedman was saying how Friedman wasn't even sure if he was going to get claimed because he's making 2.5 million and Yoki Haru's making 3.1. So if there was ever a chance, I think Adams was going to be able to trade Yoki Haru. I don't think that's going to happen. I think if anything, we would just see a waiver claim and or a waiver wire addition, and even then, I don't think that's going to happen. Moving on, why don't we talk about the Winnipeg Jets, who are off to you're not hearing this, you're not mishearing this. The best start in NHL history. They are the first team to win 14 of their first 15 regular season games.
Complete shock to me. I mean, I know they're a good team, but like, wow, 14-1 to start the season. I think the only other the Sabres, I think, are up there. I think because they started 10-1 in 06-07. I was just looking at
they were
the
10. I mean, they were
stats
10.
the other
They were
night.
they were 10-0-1.
They were 10-0-1. Yeah, because they lost in a shootout to Atlanta.
Yeah.
But I think it's the Jets. There's some team from, is it the Blackhawks in the 90s that did it? I can't remember, but hey, you're riding the probably the one of the best goaltenders of our generation behind, a lineup that could put the puck in the net very easily. So
I mean, their power play is over 40% right now, I'm pretty sure. So
and they still can't fill their building.
is that true? Have they still
No,
been?
that's not true.
Did you
But
see?
it's funny how that was happening last year. Like they were winning and they couldn't sell out.
Yeah. So I was going to ask, do you put an asterisk on this quote unquote best start in NHL history? Because games today always end in a win or loss. For many, many, many years, games would end in ties. Do you put an asterisk on this start?
No, because I mean, even if it goes the distance, I mean, you get the win, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
I didn't really
it's kind
look.
of a victim of it. It's a victim of an era, It's like it's hard to make that type of comparison just because the rules were different. But
Yeah, it's like putting an asterisk on the Bruins regular season a few years ago.
yeah,
I guess I didn't check. 3 of their wins were in OT. So
it's like when the NFL expanded a week and everyone was talking about like, oh, Cooper Kupp could break the single season receiving or Tyreek Hill or whatever, and everyone was like, well, it shouldn't count because Megatron did it in 17 games. It's like it is what it is, It's like it,
yeah,
everything changes.
It's no surprise. I'm looking at some of their team stats right now that they're 14-1. Lead the league in power play. They lead the league in save percentage. They are second in goals against. Do you want to guess their goal differential right now?
Plus
oh,
30.
man. Like plus
Close.
20. Oh wow, really? Okay.
Plus 36 right now.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Oh my
It's
God.
crazy.
So what you're saying
and
is their power play merchants and their goaltender, their
They are
Hellebuck
a little bit.
merchants.
It's not like it's basic. It's Hellebuck and a power play.
they're at a
Obviously,
42% power play right now.
obviously, guys are playing great, but it's not like this is It's mostly Hellebuck and a hot power play.
Yeah. And shout out, former future Sabre Nikolai Ehlers is 18 points in 15 games.
He's not even doing that good. He's just finally producing. I think they're finally giving him a chance, which fancy that. Speaking of hot starts, Alex Ovechkin is only 32 goals away from breaking Gretzky's record, and it's only the second week of November. He has 10 goals in his first 14 games. 58 goal, right? 58 goal pace at his age.
I think he's on pace to break it sometime in March.
Isn't it so much better that he's like still playing out of his mind hockey while doing it?
Mm-hmm.
Like instead of this taking like 5 years, or it's like Bill Belichick chasing the NFL wins record on like a 4-13 Patriots team, something
It's
like
like
that.
It's like when Bruce Smith signed with the Redskins and they were just like trotting him out there. It's like you're almost there, man. You
or
got a
like
few more to go, man. A
or
few
like
more sacks.
or like Patrick Marleau and Phil Kessel with their
Oh yeah.
games played streaks or consecutive games played streaks. Like Ovi's playing an incredibly high level of hockey, and he might do it like in the thick of the NHL playoff race, which would be, I think that's a much better way of doing it.
Who do you think becomes the victim of goal number 895?
Can I check?
Because it might
Can
be
I?
us.
I
The
was gonna say, can I
Sabres.
check
It
when the
is.
Sabres play?
I can tell you, I'm pretty sure it is March 28th because
Are
I
they?
might be going to that
Oh
game.
my God! I was gonna say if they're here.
No,
Oh,
Oh,
it's in
no,
Washington.
dude.
it's in Washington. That's
Oh,
why I'm saying I might be going there.
For context, for anybody listening,
fantasy glory.
JP might be the recipient of our fantasy punishment, which is to take a trip to Washington, D.C. The context of which I will not talk about, but he does have to go on a road trip.
Trying to find the exact date right now.
But that's funny. That would be incredibly cool. And it doesn't even become a punishment. You
It
get to
would
say,
be
you better buy your tickets now because, dude,
March
could you
30th.
imagine the ticket? I don't even know like how, like, can you manipulate a ticket market like that? Like, hey, you might see a once in a lifetime thing here.
Let's look at ticket prices right now. Um, oh,
They're not
geez,
going to
the
be.
cheapest is 74.
Yeah.
They're not going to be like
Well, they're
super high at the moment because
well, they're
you don't know yet.
well, they're also playing like out of their mind hockey right now. So like, they might win the Metropolitan Division.
That'd be nuts.
Like
After the team they had last year,
they're legit, dude. Like they are legit. They look like really, really good. Which
some
pains me
teams
because
just
like
never go away.
they had the offseason I wanted, man. Trading for Mangiapane, signing Matt Roy, just whatever. Whatever. But I'm checking, trying to see when else did the Sabres play them. So they're in Buffalo on January 6th, and they are also, are they here for a second time this season? Or is this a 3-game with 2 in Washington? They play them March 30th, and I think I missed a game. Maybe it's February, it looks like. Nope, not February. They're in there December 14th. So, yeah, man, like March 30th, that could be the date.
Mm-hmm.
That could be the day it happens.
Imagine having to relive that goal forever. That is going to be one of the greatest goals of all time.
I think
What if it's an empty netter?
I think JP I don't even know.
Here's a question. So when Aaron Judge was about to break the American League record, not the MLB record, by the way, like
Oh my
here, let's
God.
hype up that stupid
Yeah,
record.
get your digs in, bro.
But they were putting, or they would do this for Ohtani this year too. Like, oh, he's a few at bats away, or they changed the whatever game was on, they'd flip it over to the Yankees game quick to watch Aaron Judge play. Will they do that with Ovechkin? Like, are they going to be hyping this up like crazy?
They can't.
They should. This is
they
a once in
definitely
a
should.
lifetime marketing opportunity.
Oh
for
no,
the
they should
NHL.
market
They
it up.
absolutely should. They should be. I don't care. Flex every single game
That's
the
what I'm
Capitals
saying, yeah.
have. Like I don't even know if that's possible within like NHL TV contracts, but dude, like this might never happen again.
No,
I
they
mean,
should definitely market this thing up, but I don't think it's feasible to be like running, you're gonna have to run the game side by side, or like you're gonna have to keep track of his shifts to,
yeah. I mean, it's not like Aaron Judge where like
Yeah,
an at bat
a little
is
different. But
an
yeah.
at bat is literally it's 2 to 3 minutes. Like you can just cut to this and then cut away.
Mhm.
You can't cut for 40 seconds of Ovechkin shifts and stuff like that. But I would, if I was the NHL, literally every single game is like being picked up as a national broadcasted game. I mean, it just should be. I mean, it's just such a unique thing that if you miss the mark, you only get one shot at it because the only other person with a chance to beat Ovechkin is Matthews, and I don't think he has the. I mean, Ovechkin. The toughest hurdle of all is to beat time. He's on a 58 goal pace at 38. What, right? 38 years old. It's ridiculous.
If there was no lockout and a half year lockout, do you think you could get 1,000?
Yeah, Oh my
Ooh,
God, yeah. Dude, he
wow.
scored 50 in
Yeah.
his rookie season.
That's true. He would have beat this like 2 or 3 years ago.
A full lockout, a half lockout, and two COVID shorts. I mean,
Oh yeah, the COVID shortened
I mean,
seasons.
come
Ooh,
on. I think he
Yeah.
was. I hope he hits 50 this year. That way he breaks Wayne Gretzky's record for most 50 goal seasons. Because I think wasn't he at like 45 in 2020?
and then they
Like,
shut the world down.
yeah, like he didn't get to hit it. I think he was at 49 one season. That's the one I would like to see him break. So
Mhm.
it's just awesome stuff. It's crazy. I'll never forget this. What was it? Pierre McGuire saying like after he had 30 goals in like 16, 17 that he'll never hit 50 again, and he's hit it like 5 times since.
Classic Pierre.
What's the famous LeBron tweet? It's like, oh, LeBron's 30. This shit won't go on for much longer. He's got like 3, 4 finals since.
How many, like, assuming he retires in the next year or two, how many points behind Gretzky is he still going to be?
Oh
Oh,
man,
he's plenty.
yeah,
He's plenty.
Well,
yeah.
I know it's a lot. I'm just curious how many. Like, it's going to be insane. He's going to be leading the
I
NHL ever in goals, and he's still probably going to be like a ton points behind.
I would say he's probably still going to be 1,000 points behind him. Gretzky had, dude, he had so many assists, just a stupid amount of assists. He's the only player in league history with 2,000 points, and he's got
Yep.
2,700 something points.
Yeah,
Okay.
Ovi's at
Yeah.
1,568.
He's about 1,500, well, 1,400 behind Gretzky still.
Yeah, he's gonna need a strong finish here. I don't think he's gonna make it to
Can he play till he's
2,700.
75?
He should
Probably.
he should maybe hopefully get in top 10 all time in points though. Oh, I think he should, but it'll be close.
Who's number 10? Out of
Number 10
curiosity.
right now is also in the league right now. Sidney Crosby,
Crosby?
With how many?
1612.
Oh,
Who's
okay.
ninth?
Okay.
Joe Sakic at 1641. And then
Hmm.
Lemieux's at 1700, so he pretty much has to get above Sakic. There's three other active players in the top 50 right now. I'm sure you guys could guess them if you want to guess really quick.
Is
Other
McDavid
than
already there?
No.
other than Crosby
Top
and
Other than
50, you
Crosby
said,
and
right?
Ovi.
Top 50,
Yeah,
you
and then
said?
top 50 all time, there's three active players still.
Malkin?
Malkin, yeah, he's the highest. He's 36th.
Who are other older? Oh, no, he wouldn't
They're both cup
be.
champions.
McKinnon.
No.
No.
If it's not McDavid, no. Like, what's the cutoff? Like, what's 50 at?
Oh, Tavares?
No.
He can't be.
No.
No, one has played
Bama?
on one team his whole career, and the other one is a dear friend of us.
Dear friend of us.
Um,
I feel like
From
we're.
Buffalo,
Oh, Kane.
oh,
Yeah.
Patrick Kane. Yeah.
Kane, and then
Sorry,
the
he's
other
been.
one's
I forget he's still in the league.
yeah. The other one's Kopitar, by the way. But the reason I'm bringing this
Okay.
up,
Interesting.
when do we play Red Wings next? I'm just curious. He's 8 points away from 1,300. We were the recipients of the 500th Malkin goal, right? Are we
Of
gonna get like
course, yeah.
the Patrick Kane's 1,300th point? Like we always get these stupid milestones against us, whether it's the first goal of the career or some other milestone. Like
The Sabres play the Red Wings in about, what was it, 13 or 14 games. So it's possible.
actually,
It's
that's
possible.
possible.
It's very
Mhm.
possible. It
I guess
could
I'm
happen.
curious how many points does
And
he
it's
have
in
this year?
Buffalo, so
Let me
that'd
check.
be pretty poetic.
He only has 8 points this year. I think that's actually doable.
Yeah,
Through 14 games,
could
he has
be.
8 points.
Could be. Mark that down. So, I think other than that, the only other thing I did want to bring up was that we will be hearing what the Four Nations Cup rosters will be on December 4th. So, we'll see which Sabres will make those rosters pretty soon. Before we shut down here, the only thing left to do are our Sabres score predictions. And gotta say, I was 100% this week. 3-0, baby.
3-0. Yeah.
Automatic.
I
You know that-
didn't I say 2-0-1?
I think we just did.
Am I crazy?
I think we just do straight 2-1s.
We just
You,
do
you
straight
guys,
Might have.
2-1s.
you
I
guys
definitely
both
said
said,
2-1.
yeah, you guys both said 2-1.
I was in the back of my head for the game yesterday. I was thinking, hey, maybe I'm cooking here if they end up blowing this game 2-1.
JP was
But
rooting for a loss.
that is not true, but I was thinking about it.
So this week we've obviously got tomorrow's game versus the Canadians. Then on Thursday they've got the Blues, and then on Saturday they've got the Flyers. So, what will the Sabres do this week?
I'm just gonna double down. Say 2-1 again. 2-1.
I'm also gonna go 2-1. I feel like I'm trying to think who's the loss gonna be against.
I was gonna say
It
the
might
Blues.
be.
I don't know. The
I
Torts always gives
I
us
was gonna
fits.
say it might be the Flyers.
I'm
me.
sticking to my guns. The Sabres are going streaking 3-0.
Okay.
I respect it.
I'll hold you to that.
6 straight. Here we go, baby.
Hopefully they don't go
And
streaking
then we're
the
gonna
other
beat the
way.
Kings. We're gonna sweep the West Coast trip, and then
We're gonna do so much winning, you're gonna get tired of winning.
all right. So that looks like our predictions for this week. Other than that, looking ahead here, I don't know if we'll get an episode out Thursday. It is a 7:30 puck drop, so we would be hitting a record pretty late. So maybe the next time we talk will just be next Sunday. We'll play it by ear. We'll see if there's any major storylines. So yeah.
The Bills do play
All right.
like 4:30 on Sunday too. Big game.
Ugh. Boy, that game ended today. Just not the Bills game, the Chiefs Broncos game. Just oh my God. Stomach ache.
It was always going to be the 8-0 Chiefs coming to Buffalo.
Mahomes running around the field like he just won his first game of the year. Like, give me a break, buddy. Oh my God. Jesus.
I wouldn't want any different. That's end their undefeated streak.
So, other than that, we will talk to you guys next time. Thank you very much for listening. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can follow us at the Sabre Report, also on Instagram and TikTok at the Sabre Report. If you listen to this on YouTube, thank you very much for listening. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. If you want updates for the pod, you can follow us at Sabre Report Pod. Big win for the Bills today against Indianapolis. Stay tuned for our friends over at the Buffalo Sports Talk podcast. They will be dropping their recap and preview for the upcoming game against the Kansas City Chiefs later this week. But other than that, if you guys don't have anything else to add, we will see you guys next time. And as always, go Sabres.
Go Sabres.
Go Sabres.